Welcome to Adventures in Snacking.
Yes, welcome to the channel, and today I'm joined by a very special guest, Snacking Jr., aka my 6-year-old son.
Hi!
Today we're making savoury scrolls. We're using sourdough, but if you're not into sourdough baking, we're also going to show you how to do this with a yeasted dough or with self-raising flour. You can fill savoury scrolls with just about any savoury filling you like. But what kind are we making today?
Cheesy Mite Scrolls.
Yep, that's a tasty combination of cheese and Vegemite, but there are tons of other flavour options that you could go for. What else would work well in a savoury scroll?
Pizza.
Yeah, pizza ingredients would be great. Some cheese, pepperoni, some tomato sauce. I think spinach and feta would be a really good combination.
Spinach. Don't like it.
Okay then, what about garlic butter?
Oh yeah, just like garlic bread.
Really, any combination of savoury ingredients you can think of will work well. Now let's get snacking. Okay, so who's this?
Jeff.
Who's Jeff?
He's our sourdough starter.
And how did we make Jeff?
We mix equal parts of flour and water.
Yep, and then every day for about 2 weeks, we tipped out half of Jeff and replaced him again with equal parts flour and water. I'll put a link to a starter recipe in the description.
And this morning we've got Jeff out of the fridge and given him a feed and let him sit at room temperature for a couple of hours. And how's Jeff looking?
Pretty good.
Yeah, I think he's looking pretty happy. He's very active and bubbly. If people don't have a sourdough starter, could they still make this recipe?
Yes, because you can also use baker's yeast.
That's right. But what if I don't have any baker's yeast?
You can also make it with self-raising flour.
So to start with, we'll measure out some plain flour. How much flour do we need?
500 grams.
Very good. Whoops, we've gone a little bit over, but that's all right. It's close enough.
Yep. We're gonna add sugar to the flour.
Very good. How much sugar?
5 grams. Now we're gonna add 150 grams of Jeff.
Whoops, we're getting a little bit messy, but that's okay. Most of that went in the jug.
It's not really a jug.
Do you think so? I'd call that a jug.
Next up, we're adding some more milk to Jeff.
Very good. That's about 125 mils.
Whoops. Spilled it.
That's all right. I think most of it went in. If we need to adjust it later, we'll just add a little bit more.
Next, add some more water.
Very good. That's about 130 mils. We might need to add a little bit more later if the dough looks a bit dry. Then we'll mix those all together to combine. Next, we'll make a well in the middle of our dry ingredients.
There we go.
Okay, nice job. But we might need the well to be a little bit bigger.
Okay, how's that look?
That looks perfect. Thanks.
And now we pour in all of the wet ingredients.
And also some melted butter. How much butter is that?
That's 4 tablespoons.
Very good. And then we'll mix all of that together until it becomes a shaggy dough.
If you've been enjoying this video so far, hit the like button and subscribe while you're at it for more awesome content. It helps us out a ton and it's completely free.
Different flours absorb different amounts of liquids, so you might need to adjust with a little bit more water or milk.
That looks pretty dry.
It does look a bit dry, doesn't it? Let's add a splash more water. That's looking pretty good. We'll scrape all the dough off the spoon. I'm going to give this a few folds to make sure it's all even. And then I'm covering this to rest in the fridge overnight. The dough has now had a chance to prove in the fridge overnight. We've taken it out and given it a rest for a couple of hours to get up to room temperature.
Now it's time to roll out the dough.
So that the dough doesn't stick, we're sprinkling an even coating of flour over our work surface, just like this.
Like this?
Yeah, just like that. Then we'll put down the dough, flatten it out a bit, rubbing on more flour as needed so that it doesn't stick.
Now we're going to roll out the dough with a rolling pin. And we're going to try and roll it into a rectangle shape. If the dough is a bit hard to roll, you might need a grown-up to give you a hand.
While you're rolling it out, you might need to flip it over and add a little bit more flour from time to time, just to make sure it doesn't stick. We've rolled this out to about 1/2 centimetre thick, but you may want to leave it a little bit thicker depending on your preference.
It might be tricky to roll out a perfect rectangle, so you might need to stretch out the corners by hand.
So there you go. What do you think? Looking good?
Yeah, looking good.
Next, we'll throw on a few blobs of softened butter and spread it out thinly over the whole surface. And this is probably going to take us a little while, so what do you reckon? Turbo mode?
Let's go turbo mode. Beep.
And what do you think comes next?
Vegemite.
Yep, we'll start with a few blobs and then spread it out from there. Vegemite is quite salty and very flavourful, so a little bit goes a long way.
Yeah, otherwise it's super salty.
And what do you reckon? Go turbo mode again?
Yeah. Beep.
There we go, that's looking pretty even. What do you reckon?
Just let me fix this little bit here and I think it will be good. There, that looks pretty Vegemitified.
Vegemitified. That's a good word. I like that.
Look, it's raining cheese.
Yeah, next up we're sprinkling over a generous amount of cheddar cheese.
Cheese, cheese, cheese.
And now to roll it up.
We'll start by folding the end over and then carefully roll it up.
If your roll is quite long like this one, it can be helpful to have an extra pair of hands.
Roly, 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 roly.
Then we're going to carefully mark out the dough at 2 to 3 inch intervals and then cut it into pieces. I find that using a serrated knife with a sawing motion helps to cut through the dough without squishing it too much.
And I'll pick them up and stack them over here. See? Good, good.
Then we're going to line a baking tray with some baking paper. I find crumpling it up first makes it easier to fit into the corners of the baking dish.
Then place the scrolls in the dish. Leave a little space in between so they can expand.
And then we're going to cover those with some lightly oiled plastic wrap and leave them in a warm place to prove again for about half an hour. So we've got half an hour to kill. What do you want to do?
Let's play Lego!
Sounds good.
And while we're playing Lego, we're gonna preheat the oven to 190 degrees.
Now these have had their final prove. I always find these rise more in the center as they cook than the edges, so I like to use my thumb to give them a little squish in the middle so that they rise more evenly.
Like this.
Yeah, just like that. Nice work.
And then add a little sprinkle of extra cheese on each one.
Then they're going into the oven and they can bake for around half an hour.
It's me, Mario.
They might take a little bit less or more time depending on your oven. I like to check them at about the 20-minute mark. And then just keep an eye on them until they've risen, the cheese is melted, and they've gone a nice golden brown. I'm letting them cool for about 10 minutes in the dish and then taking them out, removing the baking paper and letting them cool completely. And how do you reckon they've turned out?
They look pretty good.
Yeah, I think they look good too. But do you know how to make any food look extra good?
Add some garnish.
Yeah, that's right. A couple of sprigs of parsley and these will be ready for thumbnail photos.
Oh yeah, that looks good.
And now the most important part.
Eating them! Are they cool? Can we eat them?
Yep, they're good to go. Help yourself. What do you reckon?
Amazing!
Oh yeah, they are good. Nice and cheesy, super savoury from the Vegemite, a little bit salty but not overpowering. Really, really nice. Oh, crikey, we've made a bit of a mess. Who's going to clean all this up?
Not me.
Ah, come on, bud. We made this mess. I think we can clean it up. It won't take that long.
Fair enough.
Check out this video next. Thanks for watching, and until next time, happy snacking.